Hello and welcome back. My name is Literally Dead and welcome back to another episode on the Tower of Trials guide I'm doing for this season. And for this one we're doing floor 10 through 15. So the first thing I wanted to mention was the Shadow of Blessings. So all Shadow classed heroes are going to have a huge buff, 50% increase on all stats. So the heroes I'm going to use for this are all Shadow classed heroes. So for the first one I'm going to be using Mara, and the second one I'm going to be using Ren. Alright, let's get into talking about the team. So I'm going to be using the Mask Relic, the Rapid Swords Relic, and the Void Relic. And I'm not using the Insignia Relic this time. It's going to be a little different just because Mara is vastly different from like a lot of other heroes. The altar I'll be running will be the 15 points on the altar of Blacksmith and 10 points to the altar of Blood. So the plan for this one is to prioritize getting a tier 7 Mara and getting some good equipment, and then I can add as many like Mara as I want on the field. I think the goal is to get like 3. I think that should be fine. 2 is also totally fine too. And then on the other side we have Ren. Ren is one of the best heroes for Tower of Trials, and she gets a buff because of her class. So the relics I'll be running will be the Insignia Relic, the Mask Relic, and the Shield Relic. The altars I'll be running will be 15 points to the altar of Blacksmith and 10 points to the altar of Blood as well. This one is pretty standard to how I would usually use Ren in this. Just have one Ren, a Mask Ren, give that Ren like 2 staffs and a bow, so she could do a lot of damage. Now, before I wanted to say anything else, I wanted to mention that there is a debuff, and that debuff is preventing MP recovery of ally heroes for the first 5 seconds of a battle. That is a really tough one, so I decided to try like heroes that will either have their abilities start right away with Mara, or are just super strong and have a lot of protective relics and altars behind it with Ren. This debuff is actually a really big reason why I decided not to use Rai, who's also a very solid pick for the Shadow class. The only problem is she heavily relies on her ability, and she won't be able to use that with this debuff as much, so she'll get wiped out pretty quick if she is on the field. But with Mara, she starts with it right away. On the other hand, with Ren, I have like, what is that, like 6 mighty blocks for Ren, so she'll survive a good amount of time, and then by the end of that she'll have the attack HP drain to get more health, and then when she gets her ability she'll get more mighty blocks and just completely wipe out the enemy team. So nothing crazy. Ren is just super strong anyway. So yeah, for this chapter those elves aren't really all that big of a trouble. I mean, sometimes they can be, but if you just have strong units you'll totally be fine. There's like 2 main things you can look out for this. One of them is the high amount of CC attacks that the elves have. However, that doesn't really matter all that much for Mara because of the Void Relic, and that doesn't really matter much for Ren either because she has the Insignia, she's by herself, so it doesn't matter all that much. The other issue you can look into are like the high amounts of stuns. That could be a problem, but honestly, I really never struggle with that one. I mean, you could say like the knockoff Yol mini boss for these floors could be posing a threat too, because again he has the same kind of traits as Yol with taking less damage, healing, and all that good stuff. But if you have high damaging and fast attacking units, you should be fine. And remember, with this method you have a 50% stat increase for all stats, so like you really shouldn't be failing all that much unless you're like severely underleveled, and if that's the case, then just go back to grinding, get those heroes back up, and then fight the good fight, right? I will say it's really nice and refreshing to see Mara out in the field doing a lot of work, right? Usually she's like a backup or a support to support a Void Relic, but now she's carrying it all on her own, so that's pretty cool. And she does a lot of damage. I know she's getting a big buff, but like, she does a lot of damage, and it's very surprising. So as you can see, it's been pretty well for her. And then for Ren, obviously it's Ren, so like this is not gonna be a problem at all, right? And for the sake of time, I am going to talk about the boss a little bit earlier, just to get us like into it and all that good stuff. And there's not a lot of time to talk about it anyways because they clear the boss really fast. Spoiler alert. Anyways, the boss is very simple, especially the first one. Honestly, I think the first phase of the floor 15 boss is like the easiest boss out of all the other ones and all the other bosses on this Tower of Trials game mode. Anyways, it is a duo. Actually, the first half is a duo. The left side is Elena the princess, and the other one is Caradan, the bodyguard, I suppose, right? If you just kill one of them, you move on to the next floor. So, low-key, all I do is really just like put both Or I just put all the units on one side to focus on like the left side, like Elena, just take her out right away, move on really fast, right? The second half does get a little tricky sometimes, but I mean, we have Ren, so it's not going to be a problem at all. The only thing you really got to look out for on the second round is the knockback attack, but I mean, really not a big deal again, so. Alright, the moment we've all been waiting for is the boss time. Like I said, you really only need to kill one of those people, so I'm just focus on the princess, go on the left side, take her out real quick, and then we can move on really quickly to the other half, which isn't as quick, but it should be fine because Ren does a lot of damage. She has those mighty blocks to protect her, and yeah, it's really not a big deal. Pretty easy clear, and with that, we are done with the set of 5 floors. I'm gonna pick up all the loot I earned from doing all these floors, and while I do that, thank you guys so much for watching. As always, be sure to like and subscribe, and if you do, I will finish off with the last 5 floors. Please stay tuned for that. It will be out as soon as I can. Other than that, thank you guys again. I will see you later. Bye.